Excursion Module, or LEM, and make sure all the components of the Apollo craft worked in harmony. Also important was an EVA, the first for Apollo. Leading the mission was Jim McDivitt, who had overseen the development and construction of the LEM. David Scott piloted the command module, and lunar module pilot Russell Schweikert performed double duty as a spacewalker. For the first time, the command and lunar modules received names from their crew. The command module was christened Gumdrop, the LEM Spider.
The one I flew, Apollo 9, was called the D mission. It was the first flight of the lunar module. It was an Earth orbit mission like Waltz. We checked out all the things in the lunar module. It was a lot of fun. The lunar module is a very flimsy spacecraft, unlike all the models which show it to be very tough looking. It's really made out of cellophane and Scotch tape, and I'm not exaggerating, and the material in the lunar module is so thin that if on the Earth, if you dropped something like a screwdriver or something, go right through the floor.
The other objective of Apollo 9 was a spacewalk, complete with a test of the lunar spacesuit and backpack. Although Schweikert experienced a touch of motion sickness prior to the EVA, the trial run went on without a hitch.
Okay, Dave, come on out.
Okay. Come on, let the camera run here. Taking pictures of everybody taking pictures.
Yeah, you want to retrieve the sample?
Right, that's a good idea.
The progression of Apollo flights continued with 10, a lunar orbit and rendezvous of Charlie Brown and its lunar module Snoopy. Crew members Tom Stafford, John Young, and Gene Cernan scouted the moon's Sea of Tranquility, the region where Apollo 11 was scheduled to land. They also transmitted the first live color pictures back to Earth. Apollo 8 had not carried a lunar module. Apollo 10 could land, but didn't. The LEM containing Cernan and Stafford came within 9 miles of the surface.
The inevitable question, people say, didn't you want to keep going and didn't you want to land? Well, we knew long before we left that our mission was not to land, and just to make sure we understood that, they only half-fueled the ascent tanks. We made a little pass. We found out we had a little miscommunications between the radar and the computer. That might very well have stopped Apollo 11 from landing had it not been found out. And we found a few other things. We actually separated or staged the vehicles. And when we lift off the surface, you use a descent stage that contains the descent engine as a launch platform. And if you've seen pictures, it just stays on the surface. Well, we did that above the landing site at about 50,000 feet and staged that ascent, fired the ascent engine, and completed the rendezvous just as Apollo 11, Apollo 12, and all the subsequent flights to the moon would have to do.
Before the program was over, Cernan and command module pilot John Young would get a second chance to visit the moon. The trial run of Apollo 10 was considered a success. There were a few minor problems, including one during the staging maneuver, when Snoopy's ascent engine was fired prior to docking with Charlie Brown. During Apollo 11, this procedure would be done on the moon, and the descent stage would be left on the surface, not drifting in space. As Snoopy started the maneuver, it suddenly began spinning wildly. Stafford and Cernan regained control in a matter of minutes, and the problem was traced to a switch for the abort guidance system that had been left in the wrong position. These and other problems would be ironed out for the next flight. It could have been anyone instead of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. The crew assignment process had been set up so that any astronaut could fly any mission. Had something gone wrong on the 2 shakedown cruises flown during the first half of 1969, Apollo 11 would not have reached the moon.
It feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting.